Hey guys, I'm really excited to put together a sketchbook tour for you. It's from a sketchbook I started in 2011. It's a 100-page sketchbook, and I'm probably going to go through in about 5 or 6 videos, probably 10 to 20 sketches at a time, describing what I was thinking about as I was kind of jotting down some things. So let's get started. In my high school days, I started getting some of these larger 11 by 14 sketchbooks. This one, it happens to be by Canson, but I have Stratmore sketchbooks, and maybe in the future I'll go over some of those older sketches from 20 years prior or whatnot. But like I said, this is 100 pages. Some of the pages have been taken out for other projects that I've worked on. It's fairly heavy paper. It's a fairly hefty sketchbook. So let's get started here. So right off the bat is a major piece of sketchbook, and it'll kind of give you an idea of the majority of the sketches through this. I try to have some finished works in my sketchbooks, as well as just regular sketch ideas. This is a picture that I've designed off of a female fitness model representing the She-Hulk lifting weights. It's in a charcoal drawing that originally was sketched out in pencil. One thing about this sketch is I tried to kind of add a little bit of background. You can see that with the lettering for the She-Hulk, which if you know anything about my sketches and lettering, I avoid lettering a lot because I don't feel like I'm very good at it, but I like a lot of the elements. I like the highlights in her hair, the way it's tied back, and I also like the muscle structure in the shoulder. So decent job there. One of my favorite characters created by Jack Kirby is the Incredible Hulk. I've done several images of him throughout the years. I have my wonderful girlfriend gave me a statue figurette of the Incredible Hulk that was fairly pricey. But this is one of my original images of the Hulk, and I think the overall body size turned out really well. Some of my images, and I've had problems with proportioning the head in relationship to the rest of the body, but I think I did a fairly good job on this one. Bridget Bardot is a beautiful actress of the 1960s. This I wanted to kind of capture her image, and I was using a newer technique that I realized over the last 10 or so years of erasing shaded areas to indicate mainly hair and things of that nature, and you can see with her blonde hair some of the streaks and things like that noticed in that. So decent job creating her look off of a fairly famous photo. This is just kind of a collage, and actually it's some of the sketches are more recent here in 2017. I occasionally go back to old sketches and kind of rework them, and occasionally add to them if I feel like the page isn't completely filled up. A lot of this is influenced by a comic book artist that has a lot of good tutorials on YouTube right now, going by the name of Mikey Mega Mega. And anytime I want to do any kind of manga or anime art, I do definitely check out some of his work and reference some of his stuff. This is one of the Avengers that is highly forgot about a lot of the times. She did appear in the Ant-Man as one of the newer Marvel Universe characters in the movie The Ant-Man. But if any of us remember the Golden Age comics, the Wasp, aka Janet Van Dyne, was created by Jack Kirby in 1963, also by Stan Lee. Some of the origins of her, she was gained her powers and wanted to create revenge for the alien killing of her father. So she teamed up with her father's colleague, Dr. Henry Pym, which we all know as the Ant-Man these days, but back in those periods, he was the Giant Man and eventually became Goliath and a number of other titles. But she collaborated with him, eventually marrying him, and they were a couple for quite some time. And her first appearance was in a comic book called The Tales of Astonished. So a lot of those Golden Age Tales of Astonishing or Astonished comic books are no longer available and they're hard to get a hold of. But this is a newer design and a newer costume that comes out in some of the more 2000 versions when she is kind of instated, because she was pronounced dead for a long, long time, and I'm glad that they brought her back. But as you can see by my signature, this was drawn by myself in 2011. I love some of the flowers kind of indicating her size and whatnot. Decent design. This is one of my more colorful works. Back in that day, a lot of my sketches and art are black and white, but I occasionally splash a little bit of color, and this is obviously the Scarlet Witch, which is great chance to throw in some color on her. She's also created by Jack Kirby, and created in 1964. Close to the same time the Wasp was created. Her initial name is Wanda Maximoff. She is believed to be the daughter of Magneto, one of the arch enemies and friends of the X-Men, and Professor Xavier. She also the twin sister of a character called Quicksilver, which is also the son of Magneto. She gained her powers being born on a mystical mountain, and kind of just an interesting character all around. She's very powerful. This is not her original costume, but her original headdress, as created, and I had thrown in some mock-up kind of costume, just kind of highlighting her body and form. She's a beautiful character, so I wanted to throw in that. And, kind of looking at the power source coming from her hands. This is some of the influence from Jack Kirby. You'll see that a little bit later, but people talk about the Jack Kirby crackle, and that's a little bit of what I'm trying to do here. This is a fun little sketch of Selena Kyle, aka the Cat Woman. She's obviously hanging out, and she usually has a bad attitude, and this kind of states that. I enjoyed kind of using some of the foreshortening for her legs and hand to try to get the look that I was aiming for on that one. This character, I wanted to put together some of the Jedi generals in this character, some of the ones that aren't very well talked about, and some of the amazing characters that I always thought some of them were died or killed off way too soon, but and I never can get her name pronounced right, but Elia Secura was a Twi'lek, general of the Twi'leks, and she fought in the colonial war, in the Clone World. Excuse me. She fought in the Clone Wars on Geonosis, and she's a beautiful character. And I tried to, pronounce her at the foreground and have her size. Also, we have Plow Khan. He's a general in the High Council of the Jedi. He was a member of the Kel Dorn Jedis originating from a planet called Darn. There's not too much information about him. They don't really say who he was, an apprentice under. I had a hard time trying to find too much information on him, but he wears this mask to kind of protect him from the atmosphere and these eyepieces too as well. Kit Fisto on the left here is an amazing Jedi Master. I love his character. I love kind of like his dreadlock looking skin attachment for his hair. And he reminds me of a kind of a kung fu master in a way, not just a Jedi, but he is an amazing character. He has these big bulging alien eyes, and he's a member of the Natulan Jedi clan. So all in all, I tried to place those generals together, and I think I did a fairly good job with their body proportions and things of that. I'm influenced by the Star Wars trilogies quite a bit, and growing up in the late '70s and early '80s, around that time. Obviously, I had a bunch of Star Wars action figures. Kind of wish I still had some, but and everybody was in love with Carrie Fisher. May she rest in peace. But Princess Leia, the traditional slave princess. This is taken from a photo that you can find pretty much anywhere online and whatnot. I tried to mirror the image as well as possible. Couldn't get the face quite right, but I always loved doing her hair and the costume as well. So good job there. Obviously, this is Madonna, aka Madonna Louise Chichon. I probably didn't pronounce her last name right, but we all know her as Madonna. And I believe this is from a photograph in the early 90s of her, right around the time she did, Who's That Girl and things of that nature. This is when in a lot of my portrait sketches, I tried to work on, my shadows and darkening areas in contrast. So I tried to work real heavy and trying to get some contrast to her eyes and hairs. And this hair took quite some time to get it to look right. And with all the lines and things like that, but fairly good job there. This is pretty well-known portrait of Sarah Jean Connor, and actually the actress Linda Hamilton, obviously from the Terminator. This particular image was taken from the Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It's not complete, and this is one of the pieces that I will be coming back to create more contrast, making the darkers darker and, highlighting some more areas. But the overall body positionings are great. In Terminator 2, Linda is fairly fit, and you can see that in her arms and body. So she's a great character. I love doing this piece. I have a number of pieces of Batman. This is something I tried to put together, and kind of going back to trying to integrate some of the background and the city scenes around some of my characters. A lot of when I've done sketches in the past, I've just focused on the one image, and the one foreground piece, which would be Batman. But this one, I tried to kind of gain the whole composition, which I love, adding the gargoyle and the hotel in the background, and the smoke stacks, kind of relaying that dark image of Gotham. Also, with this Batman, I tried to add a little bit more detail to his costume, and you can see that in some of his leg pads and his gauntlets, adding some of the details to his gloves and whatnot. So I think I did a fairly decent job there. This is the Black Cat, aka Felicia Harding. She is obviously a love interest of Spider-Man for a very long time. She originally was supposed to be a villain and foe of Spider-Woman, which I'm sure in some of the comic books they've kind of gone head to head, but mainly she ended up being a major love interest of Spider-Man, and this one was really fun to do, to create, you know, a, a body positioning and image. And actually, if I remember right, during this time I was referencing a lot of a well-known, beautiful comic book artist named J. Scott Campbell, and I used some of his techniques for her body and face and things like that, and you know, once again trying to integrate some of the background in. But I think, you know, I like this piece. This is Jade, the one of the daughters of the original Green Lantern, the Golden Age Green Lantern, Alan Scott. Not to be mistaken for Hal Jordan, but Jade is a fun character. She's had a number of different costumes in the past. This one, it's kind of hard to tell with the black and white, but the primary color is white on green, and I just love the whole Green Lantern corps and the theme around the Green Lanterns, and I don't think that they're given much credit where credit's due. It's just a great storyline, but Jade is a fantastic character. This is something that I've been wanting to go back to and complete, but you know, I've always been kind of timid to kind of go through, because the original sketch and outline I just love. This Lady Death in the foreground, with the character from the Darkness comics, and I always forget his name right offhand. I think it's Jackie something, but you know, the storyline for the Darkness is you know, people are infected or gain a power of the Darkness, and they turn into and create you know, certain body armor and things like that, like the Witchblade character does as well, and they're right alongside a large white wolf. So I love this this design, and I definitely want to come back and finish this in the future. This was original James Bond 007 picture that I never really got into and completed, but you know, with the passing of the late Roger Moore, may he rest in peace, I eventually will probably come back and you know, see if I can do anything with this, but you know, some of the sketches are hit and miss. G.I. Joe, what can I say? You know, once again, growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, into the 90s, you know, G.I. Joe, along with Star Wars, you know, the Transformers, and the like, were heavily influenced in that time frame, not just with toys, but cartoons and things of that nature, and I love doing this speech. Obviously the General Duke, Scarlet, and Snake Eye, real fun doing that piece. This I've posted already on Few Art, but this is you know, and I gave the description of this, also a brief description of this piece, but you know, not a lot of people know that um, uh, Captain Marvel has been a female, and more recently she is a female. But I love doing this piece with Saturn in the background and things like that. So great piece here. Power Girl. I've done several kind of sketches of Power Girl in the past. A beautiful character, obviously, with a fairly big bosom, you know, in most of the characters. I'm trying to kind of, you know, your focus kind of goes right there. I never really got the face the way I liked it on this sketch, so it is somewhat incomplete, but you know, overall not too bad on the body positioning. This is one of my more intricate pieces when it comes to detail and design. This is a character called Medusa, one of the original Inhumans, and wife to Black Bolt. And she has the power to manipulate and control her hair, and it is very strong. And you know, you can see that as she's picking up one of their arch villains, the wizard, with her hair, with ease, and she has this very intricate and detailed kind of skirt and corset, which is very beautiful with this intricate headdress. And it's a nice piece, so I enjoyed this and doing that. So that is all I'm going to go through for now. I hope you enjoyed that, and you know, be looking for more, and that gives you kind of idea of what to look forward in the future. So thank you. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate the views, and I really enjoyed going through those sketches with you. Feel free to leave comments below and subscribe to this channel so you can see the other videos coming up, and feel free to also follow me on Facebook at ThewArt, and Twitter and Instagram at Thew_art, and you know, leave those comments and send me some feedback on what you'd like to see, or if you liked any one of these pieces. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your world. My name's Thew Williams, and this is ThewArt.